Good evening and welcome to ITV News. This is Friday night's calendar.
And these are tonight's main stories.
The moment a double murderer was arrested for killing his ex-partner and her new boyfriend in Huddersfield. Today, Marcus Osborne was told he would never be released from prison.
His sentencing today will not affect the life sentence of loss our family has been inflicted with.
We'll have the details of a distressing case and the questions that still remain. Also on calendar tonight.
I'll tell you why I'm going to, well, I'm proud to take part in that strike. I was proud to take part, and I still am proud that I took part in it.
40 years on, how the miners' strike will be remembered this weekend.
If we can give a voice to this, people at home might go, do you know what, they're right.
The stars of Emmerdale on why the Yorkshire soap is taking on another hard-hitting storyline, and
Practice what you preach, the training ground exploits that's seen Doncaster Rovers boss go viral. First tonight, a judge has taken the rare step of handing down a whole life sentence to a man with a history of domestic violence who brutally killed his ex-partner and her new boyfriend in Huddersfield.
Marcus Osborne carried out the violent killings while 4 children were in the same house.
And they happened 2 days after his former partner had told police that he had threatened to kill her and the man she'd started a new relationship with. Katie Oscroft reports.
The moment Marcus Osborne is arrested by the police, hours after he brutally and sadistically murdered his ex-partner and her new boyfriend.
You're under arrest on suspicion of murder.
He didn't deny what he'd done, and a court heard he even seemed proud of it. Katie Higton had 99 injuries, stabbed to death by a man she had shared her life with for 5 years. An emotional statement from her family was read out.
As a family, we will miss her laughter, her fun and jokes. There is so much we could say about the monster who took Katie away from us. A man, if he can be called that, whose name does not deserve to be mentioned in the same breath as hers.
Stephen Harnett was lured to the house where Osborne had killed Katie. He was then stabbed and mutilated. A family friend expressed his mother's grief.
The pain I feel is unbearable and indescribable. My heart remains shattered into 1,000 pieces, and I cannot face standing here today. I cannot say the words out loud. The pain is too raw and the shock is too deep.
Osborne killed his victims whilst 4 children were upstairs in the same house. He went on to rape at knife point another woman who was there too.
I'm in no doubt. This is a case of such exceptional seriousness that even a very long minimum term would not amount to just punishment. What you did that night was horrific.
As Marcus Osborne was led from the dock, the family of Stephen Harnett shouted, "I hope you rot in hell." The court had been told that Osborne had a history of domestic violence, and Katie Higton left him to escape physical and verbal abuse. She told the police that Osborne threatened to kill her and her new boyfriend. He was arrested but then released on bail by police 2 days before he carried out the murders. Osborne was told to stay away from the home he and Katie Higton once shared. Stephen Harnett's twin brother said the police didn't do enough.
How does a man who had a history of domestic violence and violent crimes get to walk free from a police station with no physical measures in place to ensure that he stays away from the victim?
Is that West Yorkshire Police take domestic abuse extremely seriously. It's one of our top priorities. There are a lot of officers who are dedicated and committed and who are working hard every day to tackle domestic violence, to prevent domestic violence, to support victims, to bring offenders to justice.
The man who carried out what's being described as a ferocious and merciless attack will never leave prison. The family of Katie Higton and Stephen Harnett say their grief is a life sentence too.
And Katie Oscroft is with us now. Katie, it's not the end of the matter, is it?
It's not, Sally, no. There was a good deal of anger from the families outside court. The fact that police had been told about Marcus Osborne's threats to kill, yet he was allowed out on bail and simply told to stay away from Katie Higton's house. As one relative said, you can't just tell a violent man what not to do. Well, this is now being looked at by the IOPC, the Independent Office for Police Conduct, and they said to us tonight, the murders of Katie and Stephen have understandably caused considerable concern. Our thoughts are with their loved ones and all those affected. It goes on to say that it's standard practice when someone has been killed or seriously injured after police conduct that there is an investigation, even to check whether anyone involved in the case has committed a criminal offence. It also talks about opportunities to learn from this case, and learning lessons is what the families want tonight after these truly horrific murders.
Katie, thank you very much indeed. The government says more than 7,000 new jobs could be on their way to West Yorkshire with the creation of an investment zone for the county. It's part of a deal announced by the Levelling Up Secretary Michael Gove in Leeds today. The Metro mayors in West and South Yorkshire will get more powers, but the mayors say they need more money to help improve people's lives in our region.
We are giving additional powers to the mayors in West Yorkshire and in South Yorkshire, to Tracy Braben and to Oliver Coppard, in order to give them more power to be able to improve adult skills, to improve transport links, and also, of course, to deliver the homes and the investment that West and South Yorkshire need.
The most important point is not just about the powers, but also the money. We need that single settlement, so we don't have to keep going back to government with a begging bowl and bidding into beauty contests to get money that we need for our region.
Next week will mark 40 years since thousands of miners across Yorkshire walked out in protest at plans to start closing pits.
What would follow was a year-long national strike, which would become one of the most major industrial disputes in living memory.
Tomorrow, a special anniversary rally is taking place in Dodworth, where many former miners are expected to gather to remember one of the most pivotal periods in their history. Amelia Beckett reports.
It was the start of a year-long battle which would ultimately transform the landscape and the lifeblood of Yorkshire. Tens of thousands of miners took to the pickets in a bid to fight for their jobs and their futures.
Yeah, which we follow the body up the High Street.
Tomorrow, some of those who walked out will march again in a rally through Dodworth, organised by former miner Eric Richardson.
This is one thing about tomorrow. 40th anniversary of mine. A lot will say, sceptics will say, what on earth do you want to celebrate strike for? I'll tell you why I'm coming tomorrow. I'm proud to take part in that strike. I was proud to take part, and I still am proud that I took part in it. What you've got to remember is that we weren't fighting for money, we weren't fighting for better conditions, we were fighting for the right to work.
A fight which was led by the then president of the National Union of Mine Workers, Arthur Scargill, a union still proud of a community which rallied.
That's one thing they never managed to do. They never managed to destroy the community spirit, even though they destroyed a lot of the communities. They never managed to destroy the NUM. We're still an active trade union. We're still here representing members, past and present, and we'll continue to do so as long as we're able. And there is a great deal of pride that we did stand up. We fought for our communities, we fought for our jobs, we fought for the industry.
But it was an industry which ultimately died, leaving behind towns and communities where scars still run deep.
Economically, we still feel those effects. You know, where once the biggest employer was the coal board, now it tends to be low-paid warehouse work, and of course that has their place, and we have seen investment over the years, and we have seen some regeneration. But while mining was a dirty, dangerous job, it was well respected and reasonably well paid, and we just haven't replaced that.
But while the closure of the pits may have destroyed thousands of jobs, Eric says tomorrow's march is proof it never destroyed his community. Amelia Beckett, ITV News, Dodworth.
And we'll be marking the anniversary with a special edition of Calendar next Tuesday night, so I hope very much you'll join us for that.
Still to come on tonight's programme.
40% of the blockages that we deal with are as a direct result.
Why water companies are appealing for us to make a small change that could make a big difference.
And I'll look back at February and winter's weather and look ahead at how the weekend is looking.
Fans of Emmerdale know the show has never shied away from controversial or heartbreaking storylines, and now they're hoping one in particular will help to make a potentially life-saving difference.
Chaz Dingle has been diagnosed with breast cancer, and the crew worked alongside a charity to make sure the depiction was as near to real life as possible.
Although at least one member of the cast has first-hand experience of the condition, as Adam Fowler found out on his visit to the set in Leeds.
Check your breasts, ladies. I didn't. Even though Mum died from breast cancer, still didn't.
The emotional moment, Chaz Dingle tells her loved ones to get themselves checked. Her character was recently diagnosed with breast cancer, and urging others to look out for the warning signs is central to the storyline.
Unfortunately, it is very common, but unfortunately there's far too many of us that still don't check our boobs, both male and female. You know, we are constantly faced with hearing about the cancer rate increasing, hearing about so many people with breast cancer and other cancers, and yet, you ask 3 out of 5 people still don't check their own breasts.
They call it the ostrich moment, don't they? Where they say it's easier to put your head in the sand. So you'll watch it on TV and you go, yes, I must. And then you might be with the girlfriends and you're going, yes, I must. But when push comes to shove, it's that absolute internal fear. And it's crossing that barrier of going, right, now I need to go and see a GP. And I think that's what we do really well here in Emmerdale. We open up like medical topics. We did it with Marlon with the stroke. But this one, if we can give a voice to this, people at home might go, do you know what? They're right. Let us get together. Let's talk about it.
Being given the storyline is a massive responsibility for Lucy Padgeter, not least because it's so common, with 1 in 7 women in the UK developing it during their lifetime. Cast and crew worked closely with Breast Cancer Now, ensuring it was as true to life as possible.
This is a unique experience for us to be able to amplify our messaging around breast checking, and that it's important to be aware what's normal for you so that you will recognise any abnormalities, so any signs and symptoms that could possibly be breast cancer, so that people then see their GP.
Men get it as well? Yeah, not as many though.
Lisa Riley lost her own mother to breast cancer, so for her, the story was close to home.
Lisa, you've been touched by this in your own life, haven't you? Did you draw on those experiences and bring them into this?
I know how my dad was feeling. I know how my brother was feeling. I know how I was feeling. So people can come to me and say, what would I be feeling like? And Lucy was doing, we did a scene on this very couch, and we were talking about like how she would feel in her body. And I was going, well, when Mum had that, that's how she was. And then you go, that's bob on. No one on Twitter can say we got that wrong, because I know, and I've lived it. I lived it for, Mum survived 10 years after diagnosis. It then came back in her pancreas, and it was very fast then. But for 10 years, she was fine, and that proves that the sooner you find anything.
Any changes to your shape, any changes, check. Yeah. It could be a time of the month thing, or it could be just a benign thing. It could be a glandular thing. Any changes, get checked out.
Yeah.
The cast hopes the story will help viewers catch the condition early so they can avoid the type of drama that's sadly all too common. Adam Fowler, ITV News, Leeds.
Yes, we'll look forward to watching how that story unfolds on Emmerdale. Now then, when was the last time you went to the theatre? It seems dwindling audience numbers combined with cuts to funding and rising costs mean many in our region are struggling.
Now, theatre bosses are warning the number of productions could drop, putting jobs and venues at risk. And they're asking the government to step in and help. Catherine Walker has this report.
So that's why we did get up then and start searching for its source.
From Shakespeare to Andrew Lloyd Webber, England has long boasted a world-class theatre scene. But at York Theatre Royal, staff are worried about the future of the industry, and in particular, regional theatres.
Well, the theatre here in York, I guess like all theatres around the country, has been struggling since the pandemic. I mean, in terms of funding over the last 10 years, funding has gone down. There's a cost of living crisis. Fundamentally, we're all having a bit of a challenge to bring audiences back, to keep the quality of the work that we're trying to achieve on stage going, as well as the work we do in the communities.
Theatre was one of the creative industry's hardest hit by the pandemic. And though the old saying is that the show must go on, the industry still hasn't quite recovered. Research shows that regional theatres are facing multiple pressures, including a 16% drop in arts and culture audiences compared to pre-pandemic and a 7% drop in Arts Council funding since 2010.
A woman's voice telling me,
Turn back, singer.
It's a big worry for touring companies like Pilot Theatre. They rely on regional venues like this one in York to showcase new work and shine a spotlight on young talent.
It's challenging. As we go around the country, we're visiting venues where there's fewer staff. You know, theatres have lost a lot of staff. So that means there's a huge amount that we then are required to do. We need to find extra people to help support productions of this scale, to make them viable, basically. And I think there's a huge amount that would be lost if we lost our regional theatre infrastructure.
With the Chancellor set for his turn centre stage during the spring budget next week, industry bosses are making last-ditch calls for the government to help.
In the upcoming budget, we want the government to commit to the higher rate of theatre tax relief. I think if you're a theatre, even if you're producing really great work, but you're in an area that's been particularly hard hit by cost of living, inevitably your numbers may not be bouncing back as well as they would be in other places. And I think that's nothing to be ashamed of, but it's something to be acknowledged and hopefully addressed.
In a statement, the government told ITV News that theatre plays an important role in our culture. And we are delivering on a plan to support the sector with a generous tax relief worth millions to theatres each year. But if more help isn't on the way in next week's budget, local theatres say they'll struggle to keep ticket prices down and seats filled. Catherine Walker, ITV News.
Yes, we need to support art theatres, don't we? Now then, random question. I hope you're enjoying your tea, by the way. Sally, have you ever been tempted to put wet wipes down the loo?
No, I know they're on a list of things you must not flush down the toilet, along with mobile phones, goldfish and your hopes and dreams.
Certainly not goldfish. Well, water companies say wet wipes are one of the biggest causes of blockages in the sewer system, costing millions of pounds a year. They're saying you should never put them down the toilet. Here's Kevin Ashford.
Workers at Yorkshire Water know all about the problems that wet wipes can cause to our sewage system.
Well over 40% of the blockages that we deal with are as a direct result of wet wipes. Last year we removed 32,000 blockages, the vast majority of which were made up of wet wipes. And so we spend millions of pounds every year dealing with the challenge of wet wipes.
So what's the issue with what we flush down our toilets? Well, toilet paper in water, as you can see, will break up fairly quickly and easily, as it's designed to. A wet wipe, on the other hand, well, quite simply, it won't. Once wet wipes get into the sewage system, they can combine with other substances like oils and fats to create huge blockages known as fatbergs that cost the country millions of pounds to clear. However, in 2019, the water industry introduced its Fine to Flush scheme, which said that some wet wipes were OK to put down the toilet. But that labelling has now stopped after the government said it was confusing for consumers. And the message now is never put any wipes down the toilet, but instead put them in the bin.
This is an example of where the unflushables end up in our wastewater process. These are predominantly made up of wet wipes.
And wipes that do make it through the pipe system to water treatment works cause other issues.
The real problem within wet wipes is the plastic that it contains. The wet wipes, even when they're shredded, they cannot be recycled or burnt. They have to go to landfill, which could take several hundred years for them to decompose.
The water industry has defended the Fine to Flush campaign, saying it led to almost 120 products becoming plastic-free, so they'd qualify for the labelling.
The previous campaign achieved a great deal in reformulating products, so they became less environmentally damaging. But we've moved on, the market's moved on, and the public have moved on. And the only way to be absolutely sure that wet wipes don't cause damage in the sewers is to bin them.
The government is currently working on plans to ban plastics in all wet wipes sold in the UK to reduce their impact on the environment. Kevin Ashford, ITV News.
Well, time for some sport now and a big weekend of Yorkshire derbies.
Xero Accounting Software sponsors ITV Regional Sports Report.
And Arif is with us in the studio. Good evening, Arif. And it's a West Yorkshire derby to kick things off this weekend.
Yeah, we've got a great weekend of football coming up, Ian, and it all starts tomorrow lunchtime when Leeds United make the short trip to Huddersfield. The Whites will be looking for a repeat performance of when they thrashed Huddersfield 4-1 at Ellen Road. Leeds could pick up their 10th consecutive win, which would be a new club record. Things, though, have improved on the other side at the John Smith Stadium with a new manager and a recent upturn in form.
They're on the back of a really good result last weekend. He's one game in charge, one win. Lots of positivity right now since he overtook, and they will try to use this momentum as well.
Leeds are certainly the favourites for this game. We are David, and we want to bring down Goliath. It's like this way, and we want to win, and we believe in this, and we prepare everything for a win.
That's tomorrow lunchtime, and then we've got a big South Yorkshire derby in the afternoon.
Yeah, the big games just keep on coming, don't they, Sally? As Sheffield Wednesday go to Rotherham, looking to effectively condemn their neighbours to certain relegation. The Millers sit bottom of the table, 14 points from safety, and with no win since Boxing Day. The Owls, though, are 3 points from pulling themselves out of the relegation zone and are looking to do the double over Rotherham.
He knows it will be a difficult one, maybe the toughest away game what we have. In the next weeks, yeah, this is where we are, but there is a big chance for us to take something.
It's a really good game, isn't it, for the area, for both clubs, for both sets of fans. For me, derby days are all about the fans. You know, make sure you give them something to cheer for.
Let's switch sports now, Arif, and talk about a special morning in York.
Yeah, that's right, Ian. There was 8,000 rugby union fans at York's Community Stadium this morning to watch England men's seniors team stage an open training session. They've decamped up north during a break in the Six Nations to prepare for next weekend's match against Ireland. So we sent Chris Docks to take a look.
A rare treat for rugby union fans in our part of the world. The England senior men's team showing off their skills at a packed community stadium in York.
I think it's brilliant because rugby union is predominantly a southern sort of sport, but it's great that they've come up here to York and we can enjoy it today.
Just a number of youngsters around as well to grow the game, by them actually being able to see the England players in action. Absolutely amazing.
This is my first time seeing England in person. Same.
Yeah, we want rugby to be the nationwide game. You know, we're never going to compete with the likes of football, but we want as many people playing the sport as we can. We want great enthusiasm. We want the team to be supported, and today's a great example of how important it is to the local community.
Guests of honour today, junior players and coaches from Cleckheaton Rugby Club in West Yorkshire. Reward for increasing participation at their club by 98%, and a lucky few were chosen as part of the official ball team.
I'm really excited for it, and hopefully the players are just hopefully they're on target what the coaches want to do for them. I really wanted to meet all the players and then see what they do as training as well.
I'm looking forward to meeting the players and for everybody else to meet the players as well.
It's a good reward for the club for all the hard work we do off the field, basically. It's a nice treat for the lads, get them out of school for the day, but also learning and seeing the England national team playing, training, and hopefully pick up some tips and see the stars.
England are licking their wounds somewhat after defeat to Scotland in the Six Nations last weekend, but with a big game against Ireland at Twickenham next Saturday, these players now know they'll have support at both ends of the country. Chris Dorks, ITV News, York.
Oh, great spectacle there for those young people to get involved with. Before you go, Arif, there's a piece of training ground magic that was caught on camera this week.
Oh yes, I've been looking forward to this all day, Sally. They say once you've got it, you never lose it, don't they? And it's certainly the case for our football managers. Now take a look at this first. Earlier in the season, Leeds United manager Daniel Farke did this like an absolute magician. He took the ball under his spell. But I think we've found something a little bit better than that from this man, Doncaster Rovers manager Grant McCann. Just take a look at this. During finishing practice after training, Doncaster Rovers manager Grant McCann scored this absolute peach, and quite rightly, he went off to celebrate. But I have to say, if I was him, I would be finding those players for not going to celebrate with me, and I'll be bringing my boots tomorrow afternoon and making myself striker.
Absolutely. Do you think he could do it again if he tried? That's
Probably
what I
not.
want to know. It looks a little bit fluky to me.
A little bit.
Magic.
But we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I think he meant it.
Yeah, well, maybe he'd been practising a lot. I mean, he's got some tips he can certainly pass on there, hasn't he? Arif, thanks very much
You're
indeed.
welcome.
Yes, thanks very much. Now then, we are, of course, fast approaching the weekend, and we want to know what the weather's going to be like. So let's find out from Nick Miller.
Good visibility on the horizon. TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Hello, it may have been the first day of meteorological spring today, but it's been quite a cold, raw day. We've all seen some wet weather, so a cloudy and breezy looking picture at Filey today. But of course, with the start of March, we look back on February and winter. And according to the Met Office for our part of the world, it's been the second warmest February, second warmest winter out there. It's also been a wet winter too. Low pressure has been dominant. And of course, all this fits into the idea that due to climate change, we're expecting warmer and wetter winters in the UK. Well, for now, the wet is still with us. It's not warm out there. We do have a chilly night to come. The showers are going to fade, but then eventually we'll see some clear spells coming through and temperatures dipping away. So there'll be pockets of frost out there overnight as we get close to freezing in one or two spots. There could be a few icy patches after all the wet weather we've seen. Now, we may start dry tomorrow, but that is going to change. Cloud and outbreaks of rain, and again, the potential for some sleet and snow to the Pennines will be spreading northwards. So for much of the day, it'll be cloudy, it'll be showery out there, and still quite cold, feeling around 5-6 degrees Celsius. Now, eventually the showers are going to fade on through Saturday night. Then it does look quieter on Sunday. A frosty start to the day. There could be some fog patches around, but it does look as if Sunday is going to be dry and brighter. Just a word of caution, though. Could still be some outbreaks of rain very close to the east coast. And then looking at the forecast, well, still fairly unsettled into next week. It looks like eventually it's going to quieten down and it will begin to turn a touch milder once again. That's your forecast.
TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Well, don't forget, of course, that you can catch us anytime on ITVX and, of course, on the Calendar website.
But that's it from us for now, though. At the end of another week on Calendar, Charlene is next with the ITV News. And we'll be back with the late bulletin at 10:30. We'll see you later. Have a good
weekend. Good night.